the show. Well, January is Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and we have brought in two very special guests with a beautiful story to tell.
They share their experience with the disease in the picture book, Oma's Bag. Please welcome author Michelle Wang and her son, Jeffrey Lim. Welcome to the show. Great to have you guys here.
Welcome both of you to the show. Michelle, I'm going to start with you because the main character of Oma in your book is actually your mother-in-law. So when did you first notice that maybe something felt a little different about your mother-in-law?
So the first few visits before the book that I wrote, we were noticing she was having sort of memory lapses, but nothing really. It's like maybe she wouldn't remember where she was or what she had for breakfast. So we didn't really think anything of it because I'll walk into a room and go, what am I doing here? So normal memory losses. But the incident I do remember is she was asking me to do her laundry, and I was like, okay, a couple days in, whatever, I'll just put it in with my laundry. And when I went to put the laundry into the drying machine, it was already going, and I noticed that on the floor was all our wet laundry, and her laundry was in the, so I was like, what is going on here? I didn't have a great relationship with my mother-in-law, and I just thought, okay, this is just another one of those things. But looking back now, I think that was maybe the first signs of something going on that was not really her.
Yeah. Well, the disease not only affects the person who has it, but it also affects the family. So I'm just curious, Jeffrey, how did your family cope with the changing behavior you saw from your grandma?
So I think one way we were really okay with it, we just tried to stay positive, and we tried to not look at it as necessarily a bad thing, but just a different way to kind of look at it. We kind of saw it as maybe a big game. So we actually made these signs to try to keep her out of some dangerous places in our house, because our house is not the cleanest place. Our house is not the cleanest place. So the laundry room, for example, like my mom said, is very, very messy. So we put a big sign up that said, caution, do not enter, construction, and stuff like that. So we really tried to just make it a good game, kind of keep it lighthearted, and that's kind of the way we coped with it.
So I understand, Michelle, was it your husband who kind of came up with the idea of the game? Is that right?
Yeah, so he sat down with the kids and he said, you know, Grandma's coming. She's a little bit different now, but we can help her. We can make these signs, or, you know, she may be asking sort of questions over and over again. We're just trying to answer them. But if you get frustrated, don't worry, like, just walk away. And I think he really just sort of set the tone, because I remember one time we were going out and my mother-in-law decided to put 3 jackets on. And when we asked her, you know, you have 3 jackets on, she goes, oh no, it's very cold out. And my husband, instead of, you know, saying, you're fine, because it was like a nice fall day, he just said, oh, okay, then I guess I must need to wear 3 jackets. So he put 3 jackets on. So it was sort of the way that he sort of dealt with it. I mean, it was his mom, but he was so positive about it. I just sort of felt like, what a nice story. And I was writing stories at the time, and so I said, let me write this story for him and just sort of say, you know, this is a bad time, but you made it a good time, and here's our story.
I love how gentle he is with his mom. That's fantastic. But I understand, Jeffrey, you have a funny story about your grandma. She outsmarted you with some of your games?
Yeah, so unfortunately, the signs, she either didn't read them, didn't care about them, and she just still entered every single room in the house. But so she was staying in our guest room in the basement, and then my dad was like, okay, enough. We're just gonna put a lock on this door so she can't go up, she can't go down. Someone's gotta help her up the stairs, someone's gotta help her down the stairs.
Oh my God, is that the lock?
That ended up being our lock, because what happened was we just put a really easy code in, so our family, it was 1111, right? It was very easy for our family, no one would forget it. And then one day, we saw her in the basement, and we were like, how did she get there? We were just eating dinner. And then like my dad was like, did you do it, Jeffrey? Did you do it, Jacob? Did you do it, Jocelyn? And we were like, no, none of us did that. And we realized she actually just cracked the code. And we were all like, ridiculously surprised, and we were like, how is this even possible? But again, I think that was just kind of a reminder that she was still in there somewhere. She was still her clever little self. She was still trying to figure out how to do things herself, and I think that was just really kind of nice to see.
Wow.
I love that story.
Really nice. I love that story. So that's a great story. Michelle, what other signs did she show that, you know, she was still in there, even though there were these other memory lapses, et cetera, that were happening? And then in those moments, how did you also find ways to connect with her?
Okay, so in our book, things are disappearing around the house, and we can't figure it out until we open up her bag and find that the remote, the keys, the glasses, they're not hers, the phone, not hers. They're all in there. And so that was the premise of the book. But we also did try to put like a collage in her room of all our photos, and we slowly started seeing pictures appear in the bag, and she was taking them out of the collage. And the one that I think is the sweetest is that we opened up this Kleenex, and then inside was a roll, toilet paper roll, and she had rolled up a picture of my husband when he was like 4 years old in there. So she's still there. And I think it was the hardest for my father-in-law because obviously he's known and he's lost the most. But I sort of was hoping like the book would show him that she's still here, you know, and we can either, like this is a bad time, but we can either laugh or cry. And why don't we laugh more and enjoy her as how she is now and make new memories, right?
Yeah.
So that was sort of
That's really lovely of you. And I understand that in the beginning you didn't have such a great relationship with your mother-in-law, but I'm curious, how did the diagnosis change that?
So yeah, I would say she was the typical Asian dragon lady, if I can say that. She's, you know, everything was her way. She was always right. She would come, take over. And so anytime that she did come, I would always have to sort of mentally prepare myself, okay, she's here and I'm just gonna have to behave a certain way. And it was so, the relationship was sort of, my husband knew, and one time he just actually didn't even tell me that she was coming, and he just showed up at my door and like, is she staying for a month? And so obviously I was sort of surprised and a little bit angry. We still have to discuss that. And so, you know, I would be cooking lunch and try to turn on the stove, and I turn around and she had turned it off, and she turned, it was like, what are you doing? Why? And she would take off, that wasn't me. Or she'd, you know, be watering my aloe plant. And she's like, why are you watering it? It's like full. And she's like, not me. And then finally I sort of realized, you know what, why am I fighting her on this? I don't have to be right. Move my aloe plant. Let's go out for lunch. And when I sort of had that sort of epiphany kind of thing, I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm just going to take care of her. And it just went a lot smoother.
She's lucky to have you guys. You're a wonderful family. Thank you so much for sharing your story. You're going to help so many people. Just a reminder, you can find Oma's bag at arsenalpup.com or wherever you buy your books. Studio audience, guess what? You're all going home with a copy of which is wonderful. Stay with us. We will be right back.
Hey, you, come a bit closer. We've got so many more must-see interviews, spicy debates, lifestyle tips, and pop culture moments. So subscribe to our channel by tapping the logo below and don't miss out.